Ladies and gentlemen, today on the program, I am delighted to bring you a fun but powerful conversation with the great Tanya Candler herself. She is the host of the 21st Century Rocker Mom podcast. She is the original bassist in Kittie. She is a burgeoning beard oil maven and the queen of all media. Gotta tell you, this one went kind of all over the place, kids, from the origins of Tanya's very popular podcast to courageous creativity, burial rituals, barefoot hiking, phobias, modern media, cults, and the many, many exciting new projects that she has coming down the pipe, all right? Tanya is a regular cottage industry, and it has been a lot of fun and pretty incredible, actually, to watch her rise, over the past couple of years into what she's becoming. Very, very cool, man. So if you are looking for inspiration, if you're looking for the evidence that good things happen when you put yourself out there, I suggest you look no further than Tanya Candler, kids. And we'll tell you all about it on the other side. Hello, you're listening to the John Huff Podcast. Oh, yay. Tanya Candler.
Hi.
Hi. At long freaking last, we've made this happen. I've wanted to have you as a guest on. I don't do a lot of guests anymore, but I've wanted to have you on for a long time.
I wanted to be on for a long time, and then our paths crossed.
Yes.
In real life. We're like, let's do a show. I was like, okay.
Yeah. Well, you're a very busy human being, and you're very tough to pin down for an hour.
I am a hard chick to pin down for an hour. Oh my God. Because there's always something going on. Either there's some business thing or a music thing, or there's an interview thing, or there's a kid thing, or there's always something. There's always something.
The first time I can remember us being in the same room that I'm aware of was at the Kittie reunion show in 17.
Yeah, it was 2017. I was gigantically pregnant.
I was going to say you were great with child, and you were on stage as a member of the original Kittie lineup, absolutely crushing that gig.
We had a fun night. It was a fun night.
That thing turned out to be epic.
Yeah, Rob decided, he's like, let's film this thing and get this many shooters. I'm like, you know what? It would be a good idea to film this thing because there were so many lineups that have played in Kittie over the years, and to get everybody back together and in the same place at the same time was pretty magical, in my opinion.
Amazing. And it's people came from miles around.
We had people come from Ireland. We had all over Spain, all over the place. Many of the states in the Americas, many, many places. People came from all over the darn place.
Kittie was and is, this is not an interview about Kittie, by the way, but Kittie was a big deal and is still a big deal.
Yeah, Kittie's getting still a lot of attention. That I think Kittie would be honestly, Kittie is to me is because the fans, man. Kittie has such a loyal and fantastic fan base, and a lot of them that become family and friends, that you choose for yourself. They're so cool that I think that's a lot of what Kittie is. And I think that's why Kittie has survived and has the staying power that it has as a band, as a group, as an entity, whatever Kittie is, at this moment. I don't know 100% because, I'm not involved anymore, but I was involved back in the day, and I'm part of that history, which is so cool. And I think it was a great night for everything to kind of culminate and come together, and it felt very magical for everybody to be together. It kind of felt like one big family kind of reunion. It was lovely.
I get that impression off of Kittie, actually.
Yeah.
Having seen the documentary, and that's got to be a little bit wild for you to be pulling up Amazon Prime, for example, and there's a documentary that you're in that Rob shot, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
this had
That's how we met.
This is a transformative effect on your personal life.
Absolutely transformative.
as well as your music life or professional life.
My pregnancy life. Oh my God.
Yeah, perhaps that too. It's cool. I've interviewed Morgan twice.
Yes, she's a pleasure to interview and easy to talk to.
Oh, we had a couple of really great chats for my music blog a while back, and then I was actually I did a pilot for a show for CHRW.
Cool.
With our friend Howie.
Oh, Howie Zowie.
Howie Zowie. I used to have a music blog called The London Groove Machine, and we were going to translate that to CHRW radio. So we had a vision of doing a weekly LGM radio show.
Sure, I see that.
So the station wanted us to do a pilot for them, which we did. We took Howie's time slot pre-COVID when we could be in the studio.
Exactly.
And so we did a pilot episode, and I had Morgan as the sort of featured guest on that episode. Fascinating stories about when Kittie were teenagers. Like then this is your era.
When we were young.
When you were young and full of, and I mean, P and V. Morgan is, of course, a delight and she is a legitimate rock star.
Absolutely.
And so it's fun now to bring in more Kittie voices. But the thing is, we're here to talk about 21st century rocker mom, which is your handle these days.
Yeah.
And
that's what I'm rocking right about now.
I have watched with great inspiration and fascination as your program has launched and really become a thing.
I guess there are a few people out there that like pirate mouth.
You're a little sweary, but that's part of your charm.
It's just me, you know, I can control it when it's like around the kids and stuff. But when it's just recording and stuff like that, I just rip them off like I feel them. I just let it go. I just let like Elsa in Frozen. I just let it go. I just let it out. And plus it's also part of like my therapy too, because like there's no kids around. I tell people, put your earbuds in. You've heard me say it. Like put your headphones on. I'm probably the reason that they're friggin' invented. Because some of the things can get a little bit rude. Like I know my mom listens, and like sometimes I'll hear from her, like after she's heard one, she's like, "You said the P word a lot." I'm like,
you have also discussed your mom's, personal physical life at times on your program.
Oh, completely, and like her like disdain for certain words. Or like, it's because I know she listens, right? And she's like, well, I can't not listen to your podcast. And I'm like, why? She's like, because when I talk to you, you'll quiz me about it. I'm like, I don't do that. And I don't. It's just funny because she'll be like, oh, I heard that story on your podcast. I'm like, I feel like I haven't told you this. And she's like, no, I heard it on your podcast. I'm like, good. It's probably a good idea I don't tell you around kids.
Yeah, I appreciate that you have that kind of relationship with your mom where you can just be yourself and it's okay.
Honestly, both my parents, my dad, rest his soul, I could be myself around him too. Like both my parents kind of let me just let my freak flag fly since I was a kid.
Do you let your kids' freak flags fly?
Absolutely. Yeah, they are like, you saw us. Like they're like tie-dyed Partridge Family kids with their bandanas on. My oldest kid's favorite like band is Frank Zappa and the Mothers of Invention.
Right.
So when he saw Howie's car, he almost fell over.
Howie has like lots of Zappa bumper stickers on his vehicle.
So like the Zappa-mobile, right? Yeah. So he was losing his mind. He's like, Mom, is that a Frank Zappa car? I'm like, yeah. I mean, this is the things that the 21st century rocker mom does. I take my kids to concerts. They want to go to the museum and do all the regular kid stuff too, but they want to go to concerts. And I think exposing them to music young is important because then immediately they want to come home and dick around with the keyboard or they want to play around with the bass. And I don't discourage using expensive musical instruments. If they break, they're fixable. You know what I mean?
That's great.
With the kids' knowledge and their passion for wanting to learn music, that can break and then go away really quick if you discourage it.
Oh, of course.
So I want to encourage as much as I can. Like, Mom, can we go to a concert? The answer is always like, yes.
Yeah, that's great. And having you and Rob as parents, I think, will inspire artistic children. Unless they rebel really hard and become like accountants or something like that.
I don't know. I think they'll both be creatively minded. Even like our son, he created a film for school.
Wow.
And like we're putting it in a film festival probably next year because his teacher was even like, her jaw was on the floor. She's like, he made that. I'm like, yeah, we're teaching him about stop motion animation. She's like, holy smokes. Her teacher comments back. I was laughing so hard. She just like, holy smokes. I'm like, I haven't heard that one in a while.
Holy smokes. Yeah, right.
And she's like 24. She's like so young to be his teacher, right? I was like, oh my God, is this your first year teaching? Yep. 24. Holy Jesus.
I hope she holds on. You know, having been in the teaching world a little bit, I know that's a tough year.
Teaching in general is difficult, depending who and what you're teaching. I've been there too. I did like girls rock camp and stuff. And that wasn't really like a challenge at all. Cause like most of those kids really, really wanted to learn. I find when you want to learn, you will. And if you don't want to, you'll probably fight it.
Yeah. Girls Rock Camp is great.
It's awesome.
I played Girls Rock Camp one time.
Awesome. You did.
When I was in Hiroshima Hearts, we were brought in as a guest because, of course, the singer is Jen Marino.
Jen, yeah.
Who is the rockingest
powerhouse.
The rockingest girl of all.
Oh my God. And her vocals blow my head off.
At the time, my wife was also in the band as the backup singer. So there were a couple of like front and center ladies in rock and roll. And so they invited us in to play. And so it was really funny because it was at the Fanshawe downtown campus and we just went in and set up and rocked out. And we had all these little kids, these girls, you know, bouncing, moshing,
They're
whatever.
So excited. They're so excited. I know I went to one of their showcases. This was after like I had involvement in it because I had involvement in it way early on. And when it first started, we started like a day camp, like out of a studio way down London East. And then it kind of evolved. I backed out and it's just like, I went to one of their showcases and it made me so happy to see all these kids just rocking their just heads off. They were just having such a good time. And they were like genuinely having fun and like playing their instruments too, but they were having a good time. They weren't worried about like who was looking at them or anyone judging them. They were just having a good time. That's all that matters.
Rock and roll is fun.
Yes, it is. That's what they gotta learn. My kids know this.
Right? Oh, of course they do. Of course they do.
They've always got some record on or something. I'm like, let's have quiet time in the middle of the afternoon. We do this every day. Like, I'm serious. It's like a meditation thing. Because like they do it in school and stuff too. We have uninterrupted like silent reading time. So my kids are big into reading because I'm a big reader. And like, so is Rob. And so I'll put on like a vinyl and let's say it'll be like something like a double Neil Young album. And they'll have to read till it's over.
That's a good idea.
So I just sit there and read. It's great. It's amazing. And like my eldest son's like, I got through a whole chapter book. I'm like, see, Neil Young is magic.
Neil Young should be part of like a literacy campaign. You should present that to him.
You know what? He'd probably go for it.
21st Century Rocker Mom literacy campaign featuring Neil Young.
Absolutely. I could be all over that. Seriously, I could get into it, under it, through it. I get all around that.
Oh, hilarious. Tell me the origin story of 21st Century Rocker Mom. This is your 76 episodes in now. Ugh. Absolutely crushing it.
I don't know
how did this begin? Do you remember?
Boredom. Like seriously, the pandemic and like boredom. And I was like, I was doing something on, this is so stupid. I was doing something on a Reface app for like a Christmas card and I was putting my face on a whole family of like ugly sweater family people. And so I put my face on them and I was like, wouldn't it be funny? I was like bitching about like the neighbors probably, like something really mundane. And I had a few things to say. And Rob and I had been like podcasting before because Rob does a lot of podcasting and he had done some with a friend of his about toys. And then we did one together that was like kind of like a parenting one. And then I was like, I'm just going to do something by myself, just completely out of boredom and see how it goes. And I'll talk about the things that I like beard oil and rock and roll and banging your head and funny stories and tour stuff. And all of a sudden people started listening to it. I'm like, oh, okay, well, maybe I'll start an Instagram. And then people started following it. I'm like, well, this is okay, cool. So I just continued to make episodes truly because I was like fucking bored. It's like it was snowing. I had nothing to do. It was like really snowy. So I was like shoveling snow and writing podcasts. I'd seen like a lot of stuff. And I had, I think, more to talk about than I realized, I think. And it just keeps coming out.
It does. And that's, I mean, one of the things I love about your show is that it's primarily a solo cast.
Yeah.
And those are the shows that I'm drawn to. I like one voice telling me interesting things, you know?
A lot of people do. And a lot of people like that long form conversation with just one person.
Yeah. So did you have, going into it, did you have kind of a vision, or did you have a sense of where you were going to go? Or was it just, let's flip the thing on and see what happens?
I kind of just hit it and kind of let it go where it was. I had like a lot of guests. And I'll have guests again, like I say, on and off, depending like who they are. But it's like sometimes it's hard to nail people down, like you say. It's hard to like coordinate a schedule. Sometimes I just want to rip out like a few shows, get her done, whatever, and just, you know, do what you can. If you're going away on vacation, whatever. And I was like, sometimes I have so much to say that I have to do a few shows at a time because I'm so blabby. So I'm like, you know, let's just press the button and see what happens, you know? And it turned out that I just couldn't stop talking. There's a lot that goes on in my life that I, you know, want to share with people. There's stuff that I don't.
See, I've tried that when my show went solo, which was after like 30 episodes.
Yes.
I realized, wait a minute, I was doing interviews because that's what I always did. And then I was like, I don't actually listen to interviews.
And a lot of people don't anymore.
Yeah. Well, some people do, some people don't. But it's like, I'm doing this wrong, you know? But I was very self-conscious about talking about me or just having my voice. Like, I was very sensitive about seeming to be, I don't know, it seemed egoic to me, I guess, in a way. I was very self-conscious about it. I mean, have you experienced anything like that?
Oh, yeah. Sometimes I'm like, I'm sitting here talking about myself. I'm like, is this really like okay? I'm like, or is this like just a shameless like self-promotion for my ego? Am I pumping it up? Am I like, why am I doing this? And then I thought about like, why? Right? Because like, and then I think about the people that I talk to and the people that reach out to me and the people that I talk to and like that I help or that help me and the communities that get involved. And I think, okay, this is why I'm doing it. Because it helped so and so, or it helped this, or it helped propel this, or, you know, it started, you know, the ball rolling on that. And that's why I do it. There's always some reason, or they'll message me like, I never knew that before. I'm like, okay, so you learned something new. So one person learned something new. Cool. Cool with me.
Yeah. I feel like it has to be more elevated than it actually is. Speaking of my show, like I sometimes, you know, it's just okay to be entertaining for an hour if you can be. Like,
absolutely.
Especially during COVID, I discovered through comments that people actually kind of needed voices, right?
Yeah, they do. They need people to get them like through it. Because some people, like, let's face it, like, are really alone. If they're not completely by themselves, they may be in a place where emotionally they're alone and they just need to pop in the earbuds or throw it on their cell phone or pop it on their YouTube channel or however they're getting it delivered to their ear holes. They might just need that voice on the other end of the whatever to get them through whatever crap they're dealing with, you know?
Yeah. When I was younger, I got a lot of this from listening to AM radio. So
yes,
I really did. Like, and I was not an alone person or a friendless person, but you know, when I was in school in particular, I spent a lot of evenings kind of by myself in the room, you know, studying, reading, whatever. And it was like just putting on AM radio and hearing people talking. There was so much comfort in that.
It's so calming. And I did too. It's almost like the kids now, they do that ASMR stuff where they listen to like people eating and stuff. I'm like, why don't you just put on like AM radio and listen to someone talk? Like when I was a kid, I was the same way. I hauled ass in school. I had a lot of friends. I was popular. I played on the teams. When I went home though, I wanted to be by myself. I wanted to be in my room. I wanted to have, you know, my records on. I had my friends with me because they were up on my walls. I had all my posters. I had all my albums that I liked and my milk crates and everything. I had like a cool TV VCR combo in my room. It was the bomb. I had everything in there. I had my instruments in there. So I wanted to be at home in my room, but I listened to a lot of AM radio too. And then I listened to I still have a stereo from my grandfather on my mom's side, my Opa.
Oh, wow.
And it gets stations that are like in Europe. So I'd listen to like a lot of radio in like German or Polish because that's all it would come in as. It wouldn't come in as English.
Do you speak Polish?
Pardon? Not very well.
No.
Oh my goodness.
No.
Oh my goodness. Enough to get you by a good deli, but I don't eat meat anymore.
Right.
So I'll get deli stuff for my kids because I don't indoctrinate them into my weird vegan lifestyle. They can make the choice themselves when they're old enough to make it. And like I say, my son he's diabetic. So he has to make choices that are good for his health and choices that are led by a nutritionist, not like me. I'm not a nutritionist by any means.
Yeah, I see. The thought of putting on my headphones and listening to somebody eat is a nightmare to me.
For me, it grosses me out so much. My youngest is like, I want to watch those mukbang girls. I'm like, what's a mukbang? You've seen this on my show. I didn't know what it was.
Sounds dirty.
I'm like, it sounds like something they'd serve at McDonald's. It's disgusting. Like the McBang is the burger. That's like the burger that hits you in the face. It's disgusting. It's just horrible, right? I'm not going to get into why it would be bad, but you can use your illusion, okay? Use your illusion too. Use all of them.
Use all of your illusions. Mukbang. Go on.
It's just like all these people eating noodles and it's so slurpy and yucky. I'm like, can we listen to the sound of silence? Why do I always have to be the fucking Garfunkel? Jesus.
That's horrendous. It's
disgusting.
I have sound sensitivities. There are sound things that make me crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Eating noises are one of them. That's a big one.
Nails on the chalkboard for me. Opening styrofoam makes me almost get sick to my stomach. It's so sickening for me. Oh, I hate it. I hate it so much.
Oh,
I'm laughing about it, but I'm in my head, I'm itchy.
No, you're cringing right now. I can feel it.
Well, it's like those people when you look at dots and stuff. I think it's called tryptophobia or trichophobia. I don't know the exact name. I have to look it up. I don't have my phone or anything like that with me. But they look at dots and stuff like that. And it scares the absolute bejeebers out of them. They can't look at it. It makes them almost sick. And I have a few friends that have it. And I'll send them disgusting pictures of plants with pods in them that are growing.
Oh, that's
and
nice.
They're like, oh, why would you do that, Tanya? That's the most evil thing on earth. But they're the people that I have those kinds of relationships with that I can send those things to, where it's not mean or malicious. It's not a mean joke. It's a silly joke, a kind joke.
I saw a TV show one time. It was like a TLC show where it was people who had weird phobias.
Oh.
And then each episode was a therapist working with that person through the phobia. And this one cat had an insane fear of El Caminos.
Like the car?
Yeah, the car. The car
it's
that's
a truck car?
It's a car with a truck bed on the back.
What?
Which was a hot thing around the 80s.
Yeah. I have a friend who has this one that's restored now. It's turnkey.
Right.
What?
It's a hot thing now, in an ironic retro kind of way.
Big time. Like an ironic mustache kind of way.
Yeah.
Totally.
Exactly. I think people with ironic mustaches drive El Caminos.
Absolutely. I absolutely El Agrino. Big time.
So this guy would freak out if he's complete panic attack if an El Camino came around the corner. And this therapist, I don't know, I think eventually they had him sitting in the truck bed on the back. They got him there,
They got him past his fear. Where's the root in that?
Well, that's
I know
the question.
Sometimes they try to find the root in these people's fears.
Yeah.
I don't love flying. I'm not a good flyer. Where is my root? I know where it is. It's a loss of control. I can't fly the airplane, so that's scary. You know what I mean? Someone else is flying, and if they crash, it's on them. If I crash, I screw it up. But if they crash, that's tragic. I died. It's horrible.
Yeah. I mean, who knows what the root of El Camino guy was.
Oh, I saw a TLC program where a guy was conversely not afraid of vehicles, and he was in love with his car.
Oh, I think I saw that one.
Oh, it was My Strange Addiction.
Yeah.
It was really super, super sexy too.
In a
he had a very sexy relationship with his car, and I don't know how that would be, but it seemed sexier than my taste could handle. I was laughing. I was actually giggling through the whole thing.
You
I'm not
wonder,
gonna lie.
like you wonder sometimes, is this a setup? Like, is this
Yeah.
really legit?
Am I being punked here? Is Ashton Kutcher going to come out and like
Right?
and laugh at me? Like, or is Dom DeLuise going to be like, "You're on candid camera"? Like,
I was just gonna say that. And,
right?
But this dude was apparently having a physical as well as an emotional relationship with his car.
Yeah, it takes that Queen song to a whole new level. I'm in love with my car.
There was another, like I saw several episodes of that show where there was like a girl who ate like paint or somebody
Yes.
who ate raw meat. That was
There's
his
a
strange
girl
addiction.
who ate cat treats.
Yeah.
Yes. And it was all like, what was in it was, there was like necrotic tissue. And so she was eating things that were like really not
For humans.
Not like something that would be approved by the Food and Drug Administration agency. Not good.
Having, therefore, like a visceral reaction to eating noises feels less cuckoo.
Yeah, it does, because these people are eating this stuff. I'm like, I don't want to call anyone weird, but like, to me, that's a little bit out of the box. I'm like, okay, if they have to make a show about it and like people are watching and being like, whoa, that's something, you know.
I don't know if it's real. Maybe
Then,
it is.
you know, I don't know. I don't know. Like, how can you, I just medically, like these people, they go to this, a lot of them go to the doctors, like especially the eating ones. And the doctors are like astonished that they haven't died yet. I'm like,
oh yeah.
So am I. Like people that eat mothballs.
People eat mothballs?
Yeah. There was one lady who ate mothballs. You would die. You'd die.
Yeah.
Poison. Straight up.
Eek.
Yeah.
What is wrong with people? You're the 21st century rocker mom. You should have the answer to this.
I know I should have the answer to this, but the world is filled up with stupidity. It's true. Frank Zappa was right this whole time.
He was, maybe.
More stupidity than hydrogen.
If that stuff is real, though, I think then the world is full of way more psychosis than we realize.
Oh, if that stuff's real, the world's going to hell in a handbasket. If most of it hasn't already.
Right? Like, it feels like it's on its way, you know? Like, well.
Yeah, every time I open the news, I'm like, whew.
I don't open the news anymore.
No, don't.
I actively avoid the news. It's too stressful for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I agree wholeheartedly.
I had an incident.
The news is a little too much.
Then it can be, because like I just dropped by CNN the other day.
Oh God.
Because the Mar-a-Lago thing was happening, and then the Anne Heche thing was happening.
Yes.
And the Salman Rushdie thing was happening. And I just sort of flipped through the headlines on CNN.
Sure.
And according to that presentation, the world is an absolute catastrophe.
Absolutely. That platform makes it look like we're spun around in a circle of rubber bands. Like it looks like a big rubber band ball. Like it looks scary.
A complete mess, and reason to be frightened all the time.
Absolutely.
And it's such a skewed perspective.
And it's only one perspective. You know, you got to look at everything laterally, you know. And
it's the attention grabbing, headline grabbing perspective, you know. If it bleeds, it leads.
You're right.
So the world needs podcasts that are a counterpoint to that.
Big time. Like, well, I mean, like, even like Russell Brand, like I listen to Russell Brand's podcast a lot, and he will contest everything. I love him. I love listening to him. He's got an opinion on everyone and everything. And listening to him, I find is really informative, because I find he questions absolutely everything. He's like, so this happened in the mainstream media. This is what the mainstream media is feeding you. What do you think? Like, what are you thinking with your brain? Are you just like following, you know, is this some kind of dogmatic thing where once someone says you're a sheep, but then when the person who's controlling the sheep says do something, the sheep do it. And it's the people they're calling the people sheep that are doing it. It's all like a big confused cluster of craziness. And I think we need to look further than sources, you know, like CNN, and look to each other maybe a little bit more to find out sources of things.
I think you need to look to your own experience.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And if you can't share those with other people, then you're not going to get too far.
Is your world really scary today?
Right now?
Yeah, at this moment, is your world really scary?
No, I'm okay.
Right? And most people are, but then you can go look at the headlines and get yourself all ramped up.
Exactly.
because it's happening.
Exactly.
You know,
And it is. And I mean, just deal with it. Deal with it in whatever way you can.
I just think the reality for the vast majority of people is that everything's probably a-okay.
Exactly. And
You know what I mean?
think everything will be okay. And people just need to just calm down a little bit. It's been a really like crazy, couple of years, and it's been a lot of craziness in like again like the mainstream media. And the mainstream media has said a lot of things and scared a lot of people like real bad.
Yeah.
And it's hurt a lot of people. And then like the government's been no help either, giving like people who are already screwed over, no chance either. They like screw them over even harder. So it's like, it's all one big old mess.
It is, but I think there are ways of separating yourself from it.
Oh yeah, big time.
And keeping very kind of local in your perspective.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not thinking my way through this, but it just feels like the reality that's presented publicly is so vastly different from the reality that most people experience, right?
Yeah, it's different than what you're experiencing with your next door neighbor. Then, like I'm not experiencing something that's going on, like a million miles, away from me that's like seems really extreme or whatever, to me. I'm watching it, I'm seeing it, like obviously through all different sources, like people that are there, whether they're on their cell phones, wherever someone is, whether it's protests, it's rallies, it's demonstrations, it's whatever it is. It's somebody fighting with somebody at a store because they don't want to do something, or somebody fighting with somebody at an airport. Like somebody sent me a picture, or it was rather a video of a lady going off on like a TSA at an airport.
Yeah.
And both of them, the lady and the man, get punchy with each other. I'm like, holy crap. Like this world is off its ear. People are getting physically violent with each other, and they're hitting each other, and they're shoving each other, and they're punching each other. And I'm at a loss. I'm seriously at a loss for fucking words. I understand when people have like a punchable fucking face, but it doesn't mean that you're going to go do it. Like, don't hit somebody. That's mean.
This is not new. If you listen to my episode about the premiere of The Rite of Spring in 1913, where a riot happened, it's not new, all right?
It's true. There's always going to be somebody.
Tell me about your process for coming up with content week in, week out. I have struggled mightily at times with, oh man, what am I going to do this week?
Oh, I've had those weeks where I'm just like drip, drip, drop. And I'm just like so disappointed. I'm like, I don't know there's nothing in the tank. What am I going to do? And then I'll see something, or like even like last week, I was like, I got nothing. And then I was outside like enjoying a moment, getting a breath of fresh air. And one of the kids next door was like, stop copying me. And I was like, I have something fun for this. And then my mind just started going. So usually it's like the same way I get like with music. It's like nothing happens. And then all of a sudden there's like a leak in the roof. And then the pipe bursts, and then it like hits me, and it smacks down all at once, and it looks really messy. Like when I write it down, initially my notes are a mess. They're nuts. Oh, and I think everybody who's creative, like theirs are. And then I'll see stuff, and I'll be like, oh, that fits in with that. Oh, I have a story about that. And then like I'll talk to my mom about something, and she'll be like, oh, do you remember this? Or I'll talk to like one of my uncles or somebody, and they'll be like, or I'll talk to a friend, they'll be like, remember when you did this? I'm like, oh shit, I had no recollection of that. Or like, you would say that.
Your episodes are so personal. It's really interesting. Like I feel like my life and history is not all that interesting. So
Stop.
But that's just my perspective on things. But
everyone thinks their life's uninteresting. Me and myself included. Like, who wants to hear about my boring shit?
But your stuff there's always something compelling or poignant or funny or interesting. Like not everybody can do what you do, which is sit down for an hour-ish and talk and be worth hearing. You know what I mean? Not everybody can do that.
It's not easy. It's not easy. A lot of the times I'm just like, whew, do I have the energy to do this? Because sometimes it's like, sometimes it's 6 a.m. when I record it. And then sometimes it's like 11:30 at night. Because I don't do it when the kids are around, because I don't want them to hear it. Because the studio is soundproof. You can't hear a damn thing. I hear the dog bark, but you can't hear him on a tape, which is amazing.
Wow.
And the kids can't hear a thing. I could F my way out of this whole room and no one would know. I could say all the F bombs. But like I don't want them to be around when I'm saying it, just in case I say something or they hear something. So they're either asleep or they're either asleep really early in the morning or they're outside playing or something. So I just do it when no one's around. So sometimes, yeah, it's a struggle to get it down because I'm just like, whoo, am I awake enough to do this? Let's see if I got enough vigor. So I'll like get pumped up, and this is so silly. I'll like listen to a song. Like yesterday, I listened to the Grease soundtrack before I recorded. Because I was like, I need to listen to Olivia Newton-John. I listened to Xanadu and I listened to Electric Light Orchestra.
Yeah, listeners to my show know that Olivia Newton-John's Magic is one of my favorite songs of all time.
So good. It's so good. I was making my kids listen to it and I was crying.
It's a wonderful song. A
It's
horrendous
beautiful.
movie, but a wonderful song.
The movie was definitely what I would say a commercial flop, like what happened to the Beatles with like the Magical Mystery Tour.
Yeah.
The critics absolutely hated it. I thought it was cool, and I thought it was very foreshadowy and kind of creepy and almost like esoteric. You know, Paul had his black carnation, and all the Beatles had their their red carnations, and he looked like, you know, the whole Paul is dead things started happening, and you know that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about. I've done episodes on it before. Because my son's like, what's Paul is dead? Like, did Paul McCartney from the Beatles die? I'm like, Mommy. I'm like, no. I'm like, he didn't die.
You don't think he did?
I don't know if it's him or if it's Billy Shears. Who knows who it is?
I mean, when you watch, people present different sides of the argument, and both are compelling. You can fall for
exactly.
both.
You can fall for both, and that's what's so hard. Because I'm just like, I'm on that like little fault line somewhere. I'm going to fall into the cracks of the earth. I don't know who's going to be there with me. If it's going to be real Paul McCartney or fucking Billy Shears, fake Paul McCartney. He blew his mind out in a car. That's all I know. Like,
it's fun. And then you see all the little like Easter eggs that the Beatles themselves dropped along the way.
Oh yeah. Like the Sgt. Pepper cover, like alone. I mean, even the back cover, you know, Paul's got his back to the camera. Everybody else is facing. Like he's got his like grave in his base, like sitting there in the foreground in the front. Like they've got like a bloody car with a bloody driving mitt, like sitting with one of the dolls. It's something, you know. I remember looking at those, even Abbey Road. I remember looking at them with my dad and Paul being barefoot like on the front on Abbey Road, because he was the corpse, because you don't put shoes on a person who's passed away. You bury them shoeless, generally.
Why do you bury them shoeless?
Because why would you waste a good pair of shoes?
Why would you waste a good casket?
Exactly. Well, I mean, like you can't show usually the whole casket's not open at a viewing.
Right. No.
You don't usually see feet, right? It's very few and far between when it's a huge full viewing. I've seen them like that, but I think like maybe like once, and it was like super European, because like my family is on one side.
Yeah.
And so it was like a super European viewing, and it was like the whole shebang. I'm like, okay, that's enough of the deadness. I'm good. I don't need to see the shoes.
I find all of that kind of psychotic, but
does it freak you out?
It doesn't freak me out in the traditional sense, but I look at it objectively and I'm like, what are we doing right now? There's a body here. We're all looking at it.
Yep. It's just a body. Like, it's just a body. There's nothing inside it.
And I also find the notion of funerals vaguely psychotic. I like celebrations of life.
I like life celebrations. I'm with that too. I did a lot of studying when it came to like thanatology and the study of death and burial and different burial customs. Because before I got into rock and roll, I wanted to really, really badly get into funeral service.
You want to be like a mortician?
Yeah. And I did a little bit of stuff, and I did a little bit of dabbling, and I did some like working co-oping.
Really?
But I learned about like death culture and different kinds of burial customs, and I became like really obsessed with it. And I find like a funeral is morbid. Like it's so morbid. Everybody's sitting around crying all over each other.
It's horrendous.
The person who passed away wouldn't want that.
No.
And like and from what I believe, like just personally, and nobody else has to believe it, I just think we get recycled into a different container. We're not there anymore. We're just not maybe in our bodies anymore. And everybody's sitting there staring at this like shell, like our meat suit that we used to drive around while we were here. And then we're not there. We're somewhere, you know, in the cosmos. Who knows? Sailing in a starship somewhere. That's where I like to think my dad is.
Yeah.
Sailing away.
I feel like consciousness is in some way eternal.
Absolutely.
I don't know how it works, but I feel like it doesn't just end when you die. There's a part of you that is not that.
I still think you still go up that evolutionary kind of ladder. Like, I believe in big time consciousness and kind of climbing that ladder. I used to read a lot about like Kabbalah and stuff like that,
Sure.
and ancient Jewish mysticism and things of that nature, and Gnosticism and things like that, and ancient Greek stuff, and like just learning about elevating your consciousness and just about when you die, making sure you're conscious enough as a human being, like your human self, once you get rid of all those other human things like your ego and, you know, your personality, the things that make you you, and your body, like your physical body. Once you shed those things, like where are you going to be in the cosmos? How conscious is that essence, that little part of you, that little light, you know, that little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine, for like the Christian version. People understand that, like the soul version of it. They don't understand when I say like, oh, your spirit or your essence. As soon as I'm like, oh, you know, the light that lives inside you, they're just like, oh, I know that from a Sheryl Crow song. And they get it, right? You got to talk to the one who made you. But I mean,
right.
Maybe it was you. Maybe it was you. Who knows? But I think you just become part of something else and bigger. I think you're just more all around. Maybe I have a better outlook on it than other people. I don't know.
There is a school of thought that says, in fact, we are all pieces of one.
Absolutely.
That we are source experiencing itself in this reality.
Mm-hmm.
That we're all a piece of that. And when it's over, we return to that. And maybe have a chance to come back again if we want to.
I think so, too.
I don't think I want to, but apparently that exists. So
I wouldn't come back to this earth. The other day I said something, I asked a few people if they wanted to move to the moon with me. And I was like, I think it'd be good, or like maybe like a commune, not like a hippie commune where like everyone just sits around and like smokes pot and like blows didgeridoos all day.
Well, you know about cults.
I know about cults. Oh my God. I know first thing about cults. I know too much about cults. And like now at least I can laugh about cults, because being like a cult survivor and getting out of that, and then finding out people that I was in the cults with, they got out of it too, because it ruined like their lives too. It screwed it up, man.
Right.
You get into those things, people look at you, they want to find the people that are like helpful and cheerful, and they prey on you, and then that's how they get you.
And people listening to this right now can hear all about this on your program, because you've talked about it a lot.
Ooh, I do a lot of episodes on cults, because since I left, I was like, let's do a deeper dive into cults. And like, it's all the same psychology. Everything's exactly the same.
Interesting. I like the Lord of the Rings burial notion, where you put the guy on a raft and send him over a waterfall.
Yeah.
And then 2 miles down the road, some villagers are like, what the hell is this? Who is this guy? You know what I mean?
I like the Valhalla, like setting someone on fire and putting them out into the middle of the water. I like a green burial. I like the being wrapped in the leaves and being like becoming part of the earth.
Yeah.
Cremation, a whole burial anymore for me. I don't know. It's a lot of money to get stuck in the ground in a box.
There is that.
You know, it's a lot, you know. And I mean, it's only this stuff. It's only your skin, and it's only the stuff that you came here in. It's only your container. Put me in something else. Flush me down the toilet. I don't know.
I don't think we'll do that. There was a notion that I encountered that was presented by Douglas Copeland. Do you know Douglas Copeland, the writer?
Do. Yes, I do.
And I don't know if he did an article or a story, or if he was just talking about it in an interview, this notion of the rapture, the Christian rapture. And he had this thought of, if you get raptured, what goes? Does your spirit go, and then your body just sort of melts into this puddle on the ground? And he was picturing like airplanes with just puddles in the seats of people who got raptured and other people.
They got taken away, and
right?
But they're like little jello bodies stayed behind.
Yeah.
You get to go to the next planet because you were good. Like, what is the rapture? Is it like, are you going to a better place? You go to another planet?
Is
it like that don't look up thing when, you know, Meryl Streep gets her head bitten off by that weird dinosaur kangaroo thing? Everybody's naked.
I think in most people's versions of heaven, everybody's probably naked.
In my version is like, because I don't believe in that stuff, but I mean, in my version, like everyone's like a naked baby.
Baby?
Yeah, you're just back to your baby self. You become reborn. You're just a baby again. Everyone's babies.
I wondered if there was, like, I've thought about, I mean, I grew up in the evangelical church, so yes. I've thought about this. But I was like if you get to heaven, which version of you do you show up as? Like your ideal
Exactly.
24-year-old self? Do you get to pick?
Yeah, like if you were sick before you went there, do you go when you're like, are you better?
I
Like, are
think you're
you a
better.
healthy form of yourself? I think you are.
I
I don't
feel,
think you go wherever you go. I don't think you go as the worst form of yourself.
no,
I think you
probably
go
not.
as the better, more peaceful form of yourself. At least that's what I like to think.
Well, who's to say?
Not me. I haven't been there.
Not
Thank
yet.
goodness. Not yet. That's the final frontier.
It
I don't want
is.
to go there now. My 40th birthday is in January. I don't want to go there. I'm not going there anytime soon.
No, you're not. You'll live forever.
Well, we'll see about that. We'll see. We got longevity and longevity on my family, so I don't know which side I'm gonna end up on, but I hope it's on the side of my grandfather passed away at 102.
Really?
So I hope I end up on that side of things.
I think you'll be fine. And you're living this. I mean, you want to talk about this vegan lifestyle? That you're sober. You're vegan.
Yep, I'm sober and I'm a completely vegan. I don't eat anything. I haven't had meat in God knows how long. Alcohol, those things. Like alcohol made me really, really sick. I got like ulcers and tummy stuff that goes on, and it gets ugly. And then one day we were on vacation, and Rob had an office in Illinois. This is all pre-pandemic. And I was getting really heavy with my weight. I was like really creeping up there. I was like 180 pounds, 200 pounds, and I'm a 4'10" woman. I'm like used to being like 120 pounds, soaking wet.
Yeah.
I'm just not a large individual. I'm petite. And so I was creeping up 180, 185 pounds, and my back was hurting, my knees were hurting. I got in a bad car accident like way before that. So it was not doing good things for my body. We ate at a restaurant, and a couple restaurants. I had a couple of beers with my dinner. I had some like ribs and chicken wings and just like the regular thing. I had a nice steak, real good food, good quality food. And things were just not sitting with me. I'm like, I feel like I can't digest anything. I feel like there's always something in my stomach. I feel full all the time. So, I went to the doctor and I did all the blood tests. I'm like, what's wrong with me? I'm like, there's got to be something wrong. So, under the advice of like doctors and the nutritionists and everything, they're like, I don't want to put you on an elimination diet because North America, unfortunately, is obsessed with elimination diets. Like, what can I take out of my diet to make me lose weight? I don't want to lose weight. I just don't want to feel yucky anymore. So they said, what about going on a plant-based diet? And I'm like, you know what? I did vegetarian like a lot. I lived vegetarian for most of my teenage life. So I'm like, why not try vegan? So they're like, make sure you do it the right way. So you're not, getting your hair falling out and you're not bruising. You're making sure that you're getting enough vitamins and things. And I did it and I took off and I loved it. And then like my partner, like Rob, saw what I was eating and he was like, is that vegan? I'm like, yeah. Can I try some? Like, yeah. So slowly he got like into it too. And now we're both completely plant-based. And I feel better than I have in my life. I run, I jog, I hike a lot, pull the kids along with me, pull Rob along with me, keep everybody fit.
You hike barefoot.
Yeah, I do. I love hiking barefoot. My feet are hideous. Someone on TikTok the other day, they're like, what happened to your feet? I was like, experience? Like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, do you ask that to people on your weird, like, OnlyFans site? Like, what happened to your blank? Like, experience? Like, they're going to look like that. They've been abused. They're used to abuse.
They're supposed to be used that way.
Well, do you think people had shoes, like, growing up? Like, when we were evolving as humans? They were making shoes and trying to put things to cover their feet. But, like, I watched, there's a nature guy that I've been reading about since I was, like, 19. His name's Cody Lundeen. And he runs a center for like indigenous, what they call in America, they call like Native American medicine. Here we would call it indigenous medicine.
Yeah.
But that's what he refers to it as. And he takes people out and he's trying to acclimate his body in one lifetime instead of like 7 generations. So he barefoots it everywhere. So I've been trying it since I was like 19. It's been a long time since I have had my shoes off. I put them on when I like have to go somewhere. Like, I'm not a jerk. If they say no shirt, no shoes, no service, like, right. I'm not like, I want to talk to the manager. I'm not wearing my shoes in here. It's like the guy who's like, okay, you have to put your mask, like when we had the pandemic, they're like, okay, you have to put your mask on if you want to come in here. And the guy's like, I'm not wearing a mask. I'm like, just put one on and don't be a baby.
Seriously, yeah.
Just like, it's as easy as if you put a mask on, you get to go do your thing. If you put your shoes on, you get to go buy your beer at the beer store, like whatever,
Right.
just put your shoes on. I don't believe in being a jerk about it.
Do you think, I'm just making the connection now, that the reason we bury people with no shoes is a throwback? We're returning to the earth. Let's return to our roots.
We could be returning to the earth, like, with our tailbone, we get plugged back in, like we were supposed to have tails in the beginning.
Right.
I've heard some weird shit. My eldest asked me about reptilians the other day. I was like, what did you see on YouTube?
Right. I can see you on YouTube.
Oh, he can't. He has to sign in.
Oh, that's a good thought.
We got him restricted. My kids will never see my anything on YouTube unless it's like they've seen like Kittie videos where I'm like banging my head and they're like, Mom, that's really funny. I'm like, thanks, guys. I'm like,
I had a guest last year. Her name's Jackie Neville.
Yeah.
Jackie Neville is extraordinary, and she was the front person for a band called The Balconies, who are like one of my favorite bands ever.
Cool.
Total rock star. There's one Balconies video where Jackie appears briefly topless.
Sure.
It's like a flashing image, and she's now married with stepkids who uncovered this video, and that prompted a discussion at home about stepmoms
and their chesticles out on the
she's
internet.
Like sort of covering herself, but it was like out there.
But like there might have been like a nip slip.
Like, I don't know if there was, but even so.
My kids, they're so young that they'll kind of like miss the age where they missed my breastises on the internet. Like they won't see it, but like the TikTok kids, they get everything. Like the TikTok audience, my TikTok audience there's a lot of people on TikTok that want to see some content, and they have pictures that sometimes I've never seen before. I'm like,
oh, really?
Where did you find this vault picture?
From your rock star days.
Oh, I'm just glad it's not on one of those like revenge sites. I wasn't one of those girls that like ever sent like yucky pictures to like boyfriends or anything like that. So they couldn't put up it on like a revenge site or anything. I knew better. I know. I watched the whole documentary about it. It was terrible. Terrible.
I know.
Most hated man on the internet.
You have like 36,000 TikTok followers.
There's tickers and talkers on there.
I have 78.
You do? Like,
I just started.
I don't know how it happened. I don't know how it happened.
You present well and you do interesting things.
It must be. I'm silly.
I've just started on TikTok a few weeks ago trying to promote my show in whatever way I can.
Good. You should.
I'm finding it a challenge to do it well because I'm not sure how you do it well. But you're obviously doing it well. But I mean, you're colorful as a person and as a personality. You're visual.
I'm a rainbow. I am a rainbow of a human.
You are a rainbow. Some strange colors in the rainbow, but still
totally.
A rainbow.
Some of them got mixed together. I don't know what happened.
This is what I'm talking about when I would say I've watched your thing really grow in the past couple of years. It's been really compelling to watch that.
It's been fun. I have fun doing it. Like even I was doing live streams for a little while, and then like I couldn't keep up with like the chat and everything, so I'm just like, no,
yeah, I'm
not doing live streams. I can't do these unless I'm doing an auction with someone. I'm doing some like record auction stuff in a little while to help somebody out. A friend of mine had some terrible things befall them, and they like lost their roof. Their roof caved in on them.
Oh,
so I was like, let's get you a new roof.
Yeah.
So I'm just like doing some vinyl and stuff, auctioning off some vinyl, and to help him out. So doing the charity thing because what are friends for? And
you have a platform.
Yeah, man.
I mean, you have people listening, right?
Yeah, and I have people that actually like care and they give a crud. You know what I mean? And like this person, like the person that I'm helping out, they always like seem to stick their neck on the line for like everybody else. Yeah. So it's time to like stick your neck on the line and help this person out. It's nice. You just got to give back, man.
What? I mean, you do video podcasts now.
Always.
Were you from the beginning?
No, I was like about
like 9
15
episodes or something, 13? I
don't know. I want to say like 15 because it's like, it's a good solid number. But yeah, about around episode 13 or 14, I was like, let's start recording these. And then like I had like Fallon on and Morgan and Mercedes came on. A few of the girls like from the original like Kittie lineup came on. I had S.J. Jones on. She's a producer out of South Africa. She's like absolutely fantastic. I had a friend of mine, Aaron, on. We've talked about like a few like racial sort of issues. I've had other makers and creators on. I've had my friends of mine from public school. My friend Jenny on. She makes dolls. I'm like, okay, I'll have some guests. I'll get this video going and everything like that. And it worked, and like the video format worked, and I started getting some YouTube views and like a little bit of engagement there. And I, talk to people on YouTube, and I find that when you can see people's eyes, sometimes you can engage with them a lot better. And I had little clips that I can pull that were kind of like sassy that I could put in my stories. And
you are nothing if not sassy. Yeah.
oh, sassy, regular sassy pants. I put them on today, both legs, one at a time though, one at a time. I'm wearing my sassy pants.
People have said to me, when are you going to start doing video pods? And
you should.
It took me long enough to get my head around the tech of just doing the audio one.
Yeah.
Beginning to get into video, for me, that's pretty intimidating. So I don't know if I will do that or not.
There's a podcast, and I'll send it to you, and it's like Toby Morse, and it's like I think it's like First Chance podcast, and he just does them. He has his guests over at his kitchen table, and they just sit beside each other and they just record like that. And it's got like 100,000 followers. He was in a punk band, and I don't want to say Madball. I can't remember 100% what band it was, but he does it, and he does a great job. And the videos they're nothing fancy, but people just want to see it. And he's just sitting across the table, just like having a tea or a coffee with somebody and just chit chatting. And it's a good format. It's a good like long form format. It's a good like a chat format. I'll listen to those ones because he doesn't really interview people. Like you say, he just chats with people.
Right.
It's cool. It's really cool. I will send it to you.
But you also do, and I would be inclined to do, just your solo show with you sitting in front of the camera.
Oh yeah.
How awkward is that in the beginning?
It was weird. It was like almost like that episode like in Wayne's World where like I'm in Wayne's basement, right, and nobody else is here. I was like, oh my God, like this is weird. I'm like, I'm sitting here talking to a camera. I'm like, this is like, I feel like a crazy lady. I'm like, I'm talking to myself and I'm yelling and I'm just like, like doing stupid like sounds. Like it sounded like Maddie Matheson was in our basement, like cooking something, screaming at the top of his lungs, being like, that's awesome. Whoa! Like just screaming, just going nuts.
I've done the same thing.
Oh my God. Like
talking to myself.
You're like, what are you doing downstairs? I'm like, whatever I want.
I'm creating.
Exactly. I'm making things.
Don't harsh me.
Screaming about in the bedroom. I'm like, I'm creating. I've been creating a lot of things lately. I'm launching a new company.
Oh, tell us about that. I know you've got a cooking show coming, but this is bigger, maybe. The cooking show's
coming in the next like 2 weeks. The cooking show's coming because I had to get like edited, and there's a lot of recipes, and I have to like, make sure everything's looking good. But then I decided to launch a grooming company. I was like down with all those like beard oil guys in the beard oil community and the beardos, but I noticed it wasn't like super like an inclusive place to be for like LGBTQ people, trans people like, maybe there are people who are truly trying to grow a beard. And a lot of the people were getting like, false hope, and it kind of seemed like a big old boys club. I didn't see a lot of like female run or female represented, or people that identify with female, like being female at all, right, kind of run any of these grooming companies. So I thought, why not create a product like for all, not a beard oil, not a men's company for boys, bearded boys only. Why don't we create like an oil, one oil to rule them all, like something special, like a hair oil, a beard oil, a grooming oil, have some beard wash, have some fun things. So I started to launch a company. So I've been testing oils and like mixing stuff up in the lab. Like I've been mixing up the medicine on one sense and thinking about the government on the other sense. I've been like Bob Dylan, big time.
Yeah. So
I've been like letting my kids test out the scents. And like I did one the other day. You're going to laugh. You'll appreciate this. It was Rob and I have like a rivalry between us about who likes Van Halen and who likes Van Hagar.
Oh no.
Mm-hmm. And I like Van Halen.
Me too.
And Robbo Wobbo.
Oh, come on.
Wobbo Robbo.
Come on.
Loves Sammy Hagar Van Halen. And I was like, what? So the other day I decided to make him his real love. And you know what his real love is?
Go on.
His real love is pound cake. So I made him a beard oil that was like a lemon pound cake one.
Wow.
He put it in his beard. He's like, this is like awesome. This is amazing. But I was like, that one is love with love from Sammy Hagar to you. He almost wet his pants Like, he's like, you're ridiculous.
What
I'm
would
like,
the David Lee Roth one be?
oh God. His scent profile, it would be like leather. Okay, it would start with leather.
Leather.
Leather, musk,
Charisma.
scotch.
And weed.
And weed. And then like something sweet too, like cotton candy or like a lollipop. Like, hey girl,
Maybe.
I got candy in my limo. Like something, like, you know.
Have you ever listened to his podcast?
Oh yeah.
I loved his podcast. Oh, his mind is incredible.
He's got like, he's really with it. Like he's not missed one friggin' beat. Like there has been a lot of people who have.
He's also in a weird way on another planet too. Like you can listen to him for an hour and have no idea what he said, but you can't stop listening.
I know, you're like, what are you talking about?
Right?
Like, he's a podcast I listen to a lot. I listen to like Bill Burr's podcasts a lot. I listen to him a lot. He's funny.
Yes.
I can listen to him forever. Like I could go on a 10-hour drive and just put on Bill Burr. Like not if my kids are in the car. Oh God.
No.
He's another reason that earpods were invented.
It's so, I mean, Bill Burr is such a unique character in that he can just turn on the recording device and just begin talking. Like even his ad reads are funny. You know what I mean?
Oh my gosh. It's like stuff for like Dollar Shave Club. Cause like I get those razors.
Oh, do you?
He sold me. Bill Burr, his mouse sold me on Dollar Shave Club.
Zip
Oh my
Recruiter.
God. And it's great. They're the sharpest razors ever. Ever. I don't ever need to change them. They're amazing.
I mean, not everybody can do that. And I get torn sometimes between trying to do like a Bill Burr thing where I just sort of turn on and talk.
Yeah.
And I'm no Bill Burr. And
no one is. Bill Burr is Bill Burr.
The other side of that is Blind Boy. I don't know if you've listened to the Blind Boy podcast.
I don't believe that I have.
All right. Without going into too much detail, the Blind Boy is, he's Irish, and his podcast is also mostly a solo show, but it's very curated and very researched. And he talks about all sorts of really arcane, particularly Irish history, but he'll do these episodes where he'll pull together, like he did one on the whole history of pineapples. Because he was somewhere in Ireland and he saw like a castle that some rich person built, and it was inlaid with like sculpture of pineapples. And it turns out I wonder why. There's a whole class thing with pineapples and wealth and status, and like, so he'll uncover these things.
That's neat.
And he does these episodes that are really researched, really prepared, really presented, and incredibly compelling.
Sure.
And so I've begun to try to do that sort of thing, mostly around music.
Sure, like these curated sort of podcasts. Yeah. Yeah, they're fantastic. I like that mode.
Well, I get caught between Bill Burr's Wild West and Blind Boy's curation. You fall in the middle.
There doesn't have to be both. I am a cowboy and I'm a researcher. I'll go somewhere down the crazy river. Yeah. That's where I'm going.
But you do it well. Like you manage to straddle both lines. I'm 106 episodes in and I'm still trying to figure out what on earth I'm even doing.
Well, sometimes it's hard to reel myself in because like I get on like a tangent about something, and like even like my mom, like she was just like, I watched your podcast. She's like, ooh, she's like, you were hopping mad about XYZ. And I'm like, yes, I was. I'm like, I'm going to continue to be hopping mad about XYZ until it's solved.
You're better at opinions than I am.
Opinions are like buttholes, like everybody's got one. That's an old one.
Yeah.
But it's true. Everyone's got one. It depends how you present your opinion. I'm pretty blunt and, I don't know, ruthless with my opinion. I just let it out. And like I said it yesterday, if you don't like it, don't watch it. Don't listen to it. If you don't like, and I was talking about, someone asked me about my stance on like pro-choice and abortions. And I said, if you don't like abortions, easy, don't have one.
Right.
It's like, if you don't like chicken, don't eat it. Like if you don't want to eat meat, don't. If you do. Like, I don't care what you do as long as it doesn't personally affect me. Right. It doesn't hurt anybody else. And you're not hurting someone like, I'm not talking about hurting an unborn child that I don't know about. That's your own, you can deal with that your own self. But like, as long as you're not hurting anyone directly, like around you, you're not hurting yourself, then what's the problem? Leave everybody to each their own.
this is the thing, and it's this notion that everybody else has to conform to your view of the world.
Exactly.
Or your opinion or whatever, That's what really begins to frustrate people.
It does. It frustrates me too. And I think just do as you do, like come as you are, like as Nirvana said. Just do what you feel is like comfortable. People will adapt and you'll adapt to other people too. It's just like kind of like Darwinism, you know what I mean? You have to adapt at some point.
Cultural Darwinism.
Absolutely. Huge cultural Darwinism. I'm deeper than you think. Some days.
I have never thought you weren't deep. I mean, I'm looking at, it takes so much courage. People don't realize it, but it takes courage and a really intrepid nature to do all of the things you're doing. I say on the show all the time, good things happen when you put yourself out there.
You got to.
You are the model of putting yourself out there. It's extraordinary. Every time you do a new episode, you're like, by the way, I got this new thing that's coming.
Something's coming down the pipe, and it's always coming down the pipe. And it's true. Things are always going. Like I say, I'm recording, which is scary and
like music.
But yeah, like it's horrifying. I'm like, it's scary and exciting all at the same time.
Yeah.
And there's no like band like names or anything like that or anything going on right now. But there's just like a couple of us jamming. Just like two. Just like two.
No, hey.
And most of it's
two-piece bands are a thing.
I like two-piece, as you know. I'm like, I like it's amazing how much I talked about Howie and his two-piece,
with Nick, yeah.
Yeah, with Nick. It's amazing. Like I talked about them on a few episodes ago, and I talked about meeting Howie and how I met him and stuff a few episodes back.
Way back.
It's amazing how much sound you can really get out of two people. Like, I mean, the Blue Stones, I like the Blue Stones. Rob's cousins in the Blue Stones. They're like one of the finest Canadian bands like right now. There's so much sound coming to two dudes. Like it's astonishing. The Black Keys are two people,
How about Crownlands? Do you know Crownlands?
Yes, I do.
Right.
Like, but even Sonny and Cher, come on. Like there's a power of two people. Like duos are great. Like there can be some pretty bad duos, but I mean, like, no one hated the Captain and Tennille, but apparently love did not keep them together. Daryl Dragon and Friend.
Oh dear. Oh dear. We have come up on I think we're like over an hour. We're flying through this. We're flying through.
You fly like an eagle.
Probably means we should at some point do a part 2.
Yes, we should. We can book a part 2 for sure. Before I go on my vacay.
So we have 21st Century Rocker Mom podcast. We have a YouTube cooking show about to come.
Yes, it's called Heavy Metal Hippie Kitchen.
Heavy Metal Hippie Kitchen. You don't want to miss it. We have music you're recording. We have a beard oil, a hair oil company coming down. What on earth else have you got?
Well, I've been working with a friend who's an artist, but we've got he asked me when we first started working together, what is your timeline? I'm doing some soundscaping for him and some music production and just kind of coloring his world with some of his art stuff. He does some sort of different moving art. I won't say too much about what it is yet because he's pretty zip-zippy about that. I'm doing some soundscaping for him. So he said, what's your timeline? I'm like, what's yours? He's like, well, 2 or 3 years. I'm like, okay, you, my friend, we are on the same page.
We can work with that. Yeah.
Yes. And then I'm working with another lady. She's doing soundscaping for me and I'm doing some narration. It's slowed down a bit just because the whole studio business went crazy, with the flooding. I'm doing some narration of some ghost stories and she's doing some soundscaping for me with some creepy music in behind, just with my my regular voice over stuff. And I'm doing regular VO work too. So I'm always busy with doing VO jobs. I just pick up VO jobs here and there. Someone needs a commercial voiceover for going on a trip to Jamaica or something, so I have to get my Jamaica voice on. Travel. Do you remember what it was like? It's I have to get all nostalgic voice.
Your face changed utterly when you spoke that sentence. It was really funny.
I had to take direction about it. I'm like, get in the zone.
It's a character.
Look at a picture of Barbados.
Yeah, it's a character.
Do you remember sailing over crystal blue waters? I can't do it. I can't.
You are doing it.
I know.
You're doing everything. You are the queen of all media.
I'm trying. And I had a boss once who said, when I was back in dentistry, You should get a job, Tanya, where all you do is talk. You'd be good at a job where all you do is talk. I was like, well, you know what? You can take this job and shove it.
I tell a similar story.
Do you?
So when I play acoustic shows with people,
Yes.
I have a cajon, a box drum. It's called a laptop cajon. It sits on your lap. You don't have to sit on it and bend over.
Not bend over.
It's shaped like a T, if you can imagine it. It's like a tabletop with a base, and the base sits between your knees, and the T, the flat part, sits on your knees.
Okay.
Really, really great little device.
Cool.
And so that's fine. But when I was a teenager, I was one of those cats who was always drumming on the table, on the desk, right?
Yeah, totally. Oh, God.
Right? Drive teachers nuts.
Teachers would go crazy about those kids.
And, somebody said to me one time, you'll never get anywhere banging on your desk like that, or something like that. You know what I mean? I'm paraphrasing, but
like something along those lines.
Something along the lines, you're not, you'll never make a living tapping your hands like that. It might have been a joke, I don't remember. But you fast forward 25 years, there I am,
later,
getting paid to tap my hands on the desk,
your hands
sitting in my lap.
Oh,
so there
God.
it is, kids.
Just dream big. Just be yourself. You might make money off of it.
You might. You are doing so many things, and I mean, this is one of the reasons that I wanted to have you on the show, is simply because you are the evidence that good things happen when you put yourself out there. But you have to be willing to take those steps and try things and
you
fail
gotta
at
want to
things.
hustle, man.
And following your kind of, it sounds a little frou-frou, but following your bliss in the way that you do has opened up all these amazing things.
Big time. Like I was like not following my joy like 5 years ago, and now 5 years later, it's a completely different story.
Life has utterly changed, right?
Yeah, life is good, man. I can't complain. Things are good.
Yes.
I got nothing but smiles. I'm ready to come out to that show on the 20th. Are you going to be there?
Which show is that?
Go see Prism Tape Philosophy, Back to the Garden.
Oh, maybe.
Out in Dorchester.
Oh, at Back to the Garden, right.
Yeah.
Maybe. I've checked my schedule on that.
Check your schedule. I'm going to go.
Pleased to say that I'm gigging these days, so
I'm happy to hear that.
We'll see. Yeah, right?
Woo! I know I see a little bit on your Instagram. I'm just like, oh, he's playing a show.
Yeah.
He's up late. Woo woo. That's nice.
The up late part's getting harder all the time.
I
by
know.
the way.
It's hard for me too. I fall asleep at 10 o'clock on the couch with a vegan cheeseburger on my chest.
Yeah. So this getting home at 2 or 3 in the morning is rough.
Oof. I can't do it anymore, man. I don't have the stamina. I drink all those magical mushrooms and everything. And for what? I can't stay awake past 10 o'clock at night.
I think I'm much more drawn to playing shows that begin at 8 o'clock now than shows that begin at 11:30.
That show the other night that was like from 6 to 8. I'm like, oh, this is my groove.
That's how you do it, right?
I can do this. This is good. Like, or afternoon shows like 4 to 8. I'm like, oh yeah,
great.
These are my people. I can have club soda and some nachos.
Yeah, they're like, there's no good reason to be out at 2 o'clock in the morning. There just isn't, especially at my age.
Troublemaking.
Especially at my age.
Even at my age, forget it. At our age, we need to be home, tucked in bed with our spouses, like neatly.
That's very sweet.
That's where I want to be at 2 a.m.
Yeah, well, my age is substantially higher than yours, and trust me, it doesn't make you want to go back out there at 2 a.m.
Heck
the
no.
older you get. Maybe it does 10 years down the line. I'm not sure, but
I'll do 2 a.m. if I'm like doing like moon yoga or something like with like moon zappa. But like I'm not doing
yoga.
Yeah, I do some yoga, like Moon Zappa, like Frank Zappa's daughter, his one daughter. She does this yoga at like 10:30 our time on Tuesdays in August, and it's like a meta yoga, and you do it moon yoga with moon. It's fun. I do it like every Tuesday, and it's like a sign-on thing. It's something. I'm an old hippie. You can tell, but usually I'm wearing a bandana on my friggin' head and a tie-dye shirt.
With the tie-dye. I've seen the tie-dye.
I wear that a lot. I have probably about like 30 tie-dye shirts that I've made myself.
Yes.
We love tie-dye.
You are a personality, and you are using that personality to do all sorts of really cool stuff. And I want to tell you that it's inspiring to me as a person who's also in this weird world that we occupy.
It is a weird world that we go fishbowl.
It's cool to watch somebody who's making stuff happen. So good for you.
Thank you. Well, it's been awesome chatting with you. It's been a good chat.
Finally, it has.
And we'll nail down part 2. We got to do that.
We will do that. Yeah, I would like to do that.
We do.
But that's in the future. For now, I will say thank you so much, Tanya Candler. Where can we find you out there in the world?
You can find me all over the place. I'm on Instagram at 21st Century Rocker Mom. You can find me on TikTok at the same 21st Century Rocker Mom. My YouTube channel is hopping at Tanya Candler channel. You can find that there. My links are up in my bio on Instagram. You can find me anywhere you stream podcasts at 21st Century Rocker Mom. And you can find me on Twitter just at Tanya Candler. Usually I'm bitching about politics or something like that. You can find me every week. I'm always bitching about something.
You're making a career out of it. It's great.
Yeah, someone's got to be a bitch.
You're doing it wonderfully.
Thank you. I try. I strive for the best.
Say farewell, Tanya Candler.
All right, adios. You take it easy, my friend.
And you, and we will talk to you again soon.
You too. It was nice talking to you.
Cheers, later. Going to do a very, very quick Patreon plug as we exit this week's episode. Yes! There is a Patreon page for the program. It is patreon.com/John Huff Podcast. And if you are inclined to support the work I am doing here on the show, I am inclined to give you my eternal gratitude. My Patreon page is very simple. I have one level of support. It is $5 a month. You can think of it as flipping me a $1.25 tip for the episodes I do every month. And if you wish to do that, I very, very much appreciate it. If you don't want to support that way, that's totally fine. The podcast will remain free and accessible wherever you enjoy fine podcasts. If you want to support in other ways, please a rating and review, preferably a positive one, on your preferred podcast platform. Folks, if you're an Apple person, whatever, please just take 5 seconds and do that. It helps the show get noticed. In a landscape that is very increasingly cold, let's say, to indie podcasters like me, all right? I'm working against big media and big media money. Very, very tough to get noticed. Your reviews and ratings help, so please do that. Please share these episodes if you are inclined. I do appreciate it, as I appreciate all the support, kids. You can find me on Instagram at JW_Huff. You can find me on TikTok, believe it or not, at the John Huff Podcast. On Facebook, also at the John Huff Podcast. And I appreciate you spreading the word, folks. All right, have a good week. I'll be back next week, and I'll check you later. Yeah.